Okay, I dug up the bridge and got out the first saddle and got the yardstick out and measured out where the saddle line is. It's the front edge of the block here. Put a little piece of tape to hold the block more or less where it should be. So set the saddle wheel so it's even with the front edge of the block. Get my Crimson Guitars. Get my Crimson Guitars fret scale ruler thingy, and it works really good for this task because yardstick's too big and too thick. But this, you can set it like right in that wheel there, and you can see that it's pretty much right on the frets there. Yeah, I'm having a hard. It's easier to do with two hands, but yeah, I'm on the frets and I'm on the wheel, pretty much. So it looks like this is going to be okay. I might actually have to put a piece of brass shim right under there. Just, like glue it to the bottom of this with a drop of CA glue. And because otherwise this might have to be, like halfway up or further than halfway up on its adjustment in order to get the correct action. Yeah, because this right here is basically going to be zero action with them all the way down, or perhaps even just a smidge below zero action. So if it's below zero action, then yeah, I might be going for a shim. But that's not a big deal. I don't think that it's a case of wanting to take any shim out down here because I barely have any in to begin with. So, and changes at this end have much less of an effect than changes at this end. So taking a shim out here would move all this a whole bunch, as opposed to adding a little shim here, which would just raise the saddle ever so slightly and raise the strings, therefore, ever so slightly in relationship to the 24th fret. So, yeah, so I finally got, enough of it together that I can check that. So I wanted to go ahead and check that to make sure. So it looks like, originally I was thinking I might have to sand a mill off of this, and I might actually have to put a little shim under it, but for now I'm just going to run with it the way it is, and we'll see how it turns out. I can always slip a shim under there if I need to, and then, back the saddles off. Or when I get to setting the action, if it looks like I'm having to crank the heck out of the saddles, then I can just, stop and put a shim in, and then continue. So, yeah, time to string them all up. I have to go over the wheel, through the center, and then I have to go through the hole in the back end, and then it sets down on the block, goes under the bar, whichever bar for whichever string, and in the case of this number 6, it then runs outboard of these two tuners, comes around this vertical roller tree, and then it has to wind around the outside of this post. All these have to wind around the outsides. And instead of this being like on a headstock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is actually 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's the way it goes. And they all have to be wound, instead of like the strings come down the middle and then winding around from the inside. They all have to come and wind around from the outside. So that's what's involved, and I'm going to get on that. Okay, I've got this first string just kind of on there, good enough to see the action, and that's with it all the way down. and it's looking real good. So I might actually end up sanding a little off of this again. So see what happens. Okay, all the strings are pulled tight and locked down, but they haven't been tightened up yet, so they're still pretty loose. But they're good enough that you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. You're going to be real close on the action, and obviously the block is basically at the theoretical saddle line where the rollers are. They're at the front edge, and I'll have to adjust intonation from there, but this is more or less the way it's going to look. So it all just comes down and goes on there, just like that. Yeah, the action's looking good, and it's still got the same amount of shim. There doesn't seem to be any curve. Well, of course it's not really under tension yet, and it's just the G-force on the backside. The battery is charging, and once it charges, then I can go ahead and have it tune itself. Well, what you do is if you're doing it like one string at a time, and since this is basically being restrung, I'll be doing it one string at a time. What you do is you set it for the string you're going to play around with, and you hit the up button. This thing's upside down at the moment, but you hit the up button, and that tightens it up. And once it gets tight enough for the built-in tuner to start reading it, vibrating, it'll automatically start trying to tune it. But right now I got a couple of them sort of run up like this guy, and the battery was dead from the other day that I was playing with it before the paint shop. So before the paint shop, before it got disassembled for painting. So yeah, the battery's been sitting around for a while, and you know, I probably used up most of it last time. So in a few minutes the battery should be charged again, and I can go ahead and have at it. There's also, you know, the possibility that as near as I can tell, this is the original battery, and the case is actually expanded a little bit, which seems to be the reason that the battery tends to get stuck in here a little bit. And it's possible that, you know, somebody had it at someplace stored it someplace that was too warm, or they overcharged it or something. I don't know, but it's possible that the battery might be weak as well, and that's why it's, you know, it can tune this thing up, and I guess once it's in tune, it would be enough in order to keep it in tune for a couple days maybe. But yeah, I would expect it to work a little longer than that. So we'll see. Well, while I'm waiting for the battery to finish charging, I decided to go ahead and put the bar back on. Pivot screw and thumb screw. There's the bar. This is what it looks like from, oops, knocked the saddle off. Remember, the strings are not yet under tension. Come here, Mr. Saddle. I need two hands. I'll be right back. Okay, saddle's back on. Yeah, I just knocked this number 1 off. So, yeah, there it is with the bar. Give you an idea of what it's going to look like. So, as soon as the battery is charged up, I can go ahead and put it under tension. Okay, the battery is charged up, and the pickup's all dry. Turned out real nice, all nice and black. And I just pulled the tape off so that I could check the clearance here, and it looks like the pickup is really looking good here for all positions. It's not too close here at the neck, got to remember these are not yet under tension, and the saddles haven't been moved up, and the action has not been set. So we've got probably a good honest 2 mil right there. So that should be okay. And up here we've got probably 3 or 4 mil. So that should be okay too. For the metal, I found this thing, and it's sheet metal, steel, and it's you know, like the side off a computer case, and yeah, it sticks real good. So, and you can slide it around and stuff like that, so should work out okay. I'm probably going to want to put a piece of like tape or something on the bottom of this so that it doesn't scratch up this. I figure I'm going to take this and I suppose if I can find a clean enough piece and just clean it up, I could leave this flat black finish on it, but I'll probably end up squirting it with some flat black or something like that to go under here. And then it's like about 150. I measured again and I reset the bridge so the front edge of the block is or no, not sorry, the rollers, the front edge block's a little ahead of the center of the rollers. Center of the rollers is at the bridge again, because I wanted to figure out exactly where the block ought to be, no further forward, so that I can figure out how big to make this plate to go in here. And it looks like I'm going to need, it's about 150 millimeters here to here, and it's 50 wide here and it's 60 wide there. So maybe just a strip about 140, 145 might do the trick, and then maybe put like a couple mil of shim under it at the bridge end, and then 1 mil of shim under it at in the middle here, and then no shim at that end. That way it'll be more or less parallel with the string, so that you got the same pickup height no matter where you slide it. So yeah, that's the basic idea. I don't know, I gotta find out how hard this stuff is to cut. All I have is aviation shears, unless I want to, you know, like put a metal cutting blade in a circular saw or something like that. So yeah, let me get the aviation shears. Well, it was a bit of work, but I managed. Sorry, I got the hiccups. I managed to cut out a blank here that's 190 by 90 millimeters. So that should be plenty big enough. I'll go ahead and mark it out and then cut its size. Okay, I've got it marked out for the plate, and time for the tin snips. Okay, it's all cut out and bent by hand until it's pretty flat. A couple little spots along the edge where I probably should give it a couple love taps with a hammer in order to get everything nice and flat. And then sand the edges and probably hit it up with some paint. And then something is going to go in more or less like that, and then the pickup goes on it, except the pickup's going to stick to it. So yeah, that's the basic idea. Okay, that's the basic idea for the plate there. I tapped the edges flat with the hammer and trimmed it up with these guys. and sanded it down with some 60 grit and cleaned it up with some naphtha, but it's still looking kind of rough. So, time to squirt it. Okay, it's the next morning, and there's the base plate for the pickup. I'm going to go right in there. And while I was waiting for that to dry, I fished up a battery box for the EQ. And let's see, so we've got the pickup, we've got the on-off switch, we've got the battery box, we've got the EQ, and we've got the kill switch. Yeah, that's the only thing I haven't really figured out is the kill switch, how to mount it. And it looks like either I can, if this thing's going to have like, let me stand this up here.